I'm up for the challenge.
I do have to ask the big question. I thought you guys were brothers when I first started watching this. I was like, oh, they're brothers. And then I was like, they're college roommates. And then I was like digging. I'm like, how do they know each other? Is this like magical casting, or did you guys know each other before you did the show?
So we were actually, we were connected through a mutual friend. So Mike's old or business partner, I should say, was somebody I went to middle school and elementary and high school with, partially anyway. And so there was a project that I was working on, and I needed some help. Normally I would handle the landscape on most of my projects, but this was just, the scope was too big. So Kim brought Mike into the picture, and we actually met on site, and that was actually the first time we connected.
Oh my gosh, wow. Okay, and how many years ago was that?
So that was a while ago. So that was 2017, and then so we'd only met once for like, and we kind of had to keep this quiet because I don't know, it might have looked bad. I don't know why we kept it quiet, because we shouldn't have, but we only met each other one time before we started filming together.
Right.
So the second time we met was filming with with 3 cameras in front of us, and it was for our sizzle reel, and it just kind of worked. It just felt like we'd known each other for our whole lives, to be honest.
Yeah, it is funny because I was like picturing, like before I did my deep dive, I was thinking, oh, these two had bunk beds, they were growing up together, they were,
Yeah.
brothers beating each other. And then I'm like, oh my God, they're not even related. So that's an even crazier story, because you guys do work so well together in concert. Like you give each other a little crap, but in the end you work together. How does that work though in concert? Because you're both designers. Mike, you're doing the outside, Carmine, you're doing the inside. How do you blend this together to ultimately give the client, their dream home?
So basically, once we figure out the budget and how that's going to get distributed, then we can sit down and really brainstorm together. And Mike and I really go, okay. And what we do, we work together on everything. I mean, from lighting to paint choices to plant selections, the color patterns that I'm choosing on the inside, how is that going to complement his plant selections on the outside? So we really do work together every step of the way to deliver a seemingly collective package to the client, because you've seen it, I'm sure, as much as everyone else. Sometimes the interior and the exteriors of homes do not blend.
Yeah.
They just feel like you're in 2 different places.
Yeah. And I think, just to touch on that, I think, the simplest form is Carmine has a landscape design background, and he spent some years doing that, and have some interior design background too. So it's nice to know a little bit about what each person mainly is doing, and that way that's why we can banter back and forth, because we kind of have knowledge on both aspects, so we can kind of just poke at one another and kind of test one another and such.
Yeah. And do you feel like before you go into a job, especially an episode, do you have some sort of like side bet, like on who's going to end up getting more of the budget at all, like without us knowing? Or
No, we actually don't. We just walk into everyone, just kind of open-minded, and we put the client first, and then kind of pitch our grand ideas for each aspect of it, and kind of go from there. But no side bets yet, but maybe in the future.
Also, it is interesting because it's amazing how you have experience on the whole home, the outside and the inside. Do you sometimes, like, will you be outside and maybe Carmine be like, yeah, Mike, that's really the choice you made, what about? And then, like, do you find sometimes you're introducing new ideas to each other's designs and maybe it comes out for the better?
I think so. I think that every project is an evolution to some extent. Mike and I both like to, we don't like to pick everything on the front end of every project. That's not how Mike and I work. A lot of designers can do that. They go in and they make selections on everything in the first few weeks of the project. We don't do that. We take the core pieces, the most important items, and then we select those and then we build from there. So as we're progressing through the show and we're meeting with the clients, then those tile selections come into play. Mike selections on, do we use real grass or turf? Like, all of those textiles that we talk about, like, everything that like is appealing to the eyes and to the touch. A lot of those, we call them house jewelry. I always like to call it house jewelry. It's all the accessories.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a progression and it's an evolution. So yeah, I think we do a good job keeping each other informed. And also Mike will bring up things like, to your point, like, hey, I'm going to do this outside and it's totally outside of the box. And it might strike something in me where I go, okay, you're going to take this chance on that. I'm going to do something that's going to complement on the inside, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And we also, like when Carmine walks in my space or vice versa, it's not like, I mean, we're very open to whatever, when he walks in and he says, cause he's totally different on the style for landscape typically than I am. And the same for the interior. But when he walks into my space and has some pointers, like I'm all ears, cause we both just want to grow as designers too. We're not like hard-headed or egotistical. We're open to each other's concepts, which I think that kind of shows in the show as well.
Oh yeah, you can always tell you put the client first above anything. And also I noticed you do make, some bold choices. We're not looking at white bathrooms with gray countertops. I mean, you guys, do you tend to really get to know the client in order to bring out maybe some bolder ideas that maybe the client didn't know that they wanted?
Yeah, I think that for me, on the inside, I really try to push my clients and get them to get out of their comfort zone. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But like you said, the client is at the front of the list for us. They really are. We're trying to deliver something that is going to be wonderful for them, that encompasses everything that they want, and also something that we're not just putting on for the show and they're going to switch out, in 2 months. We don't do that. We want to give them longevity and something that's going to last. Sometimes some of the things we do are a little bit on trend, but Mike, don't you agree? Most of the stuff that we do is it lasts the test of time for the most part.
Yeah. And I think this is, more specific to Carmine. He does tend to do these like splashes and these fun little elements throughout, but it's not overwhelming. It's not everywhere. It's like, just like, like I think he says often, it's like putting on, even as a woman dresses, she has like a nice set of earrings or a nice pair of shoes. It's not like the whole thing is glamorous. It's bits and pieces there, which, at the end of the day, if the client in 10 years, they want to switch that out, it's not going to break the bank to switch out this little item, such as like a tile backsplash or something else that complements the current space. It's not going to break the bank to change that out later.
I love that. And I love the first episode, what you did with the client, with the terrazzo floor. That was super cool. And I also wanted to ask about, so the fence, I'm fascinated with the fence and how you pivoted to a different material. Are you finding as builders, as designers, materials aren't available, you have to pivot quickly, and sometimes is it kind of cooler or better sometimes with what you end up with?
Yeah, I'm always open-minded to new materials, and this specific homeowner, he wanted zero maintenance, so it checked all the boxes for him. The price was within range as well, and for them just to hit it with a hose every once in a while and call it a day. And it had that modern look. It really tied into the existing facade of the home. And I knew it was going to look good, but I think it turned out spectacular.
I want that fence. Fence.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, are you finding with the supply chain and building that you are having to kind of tap into different materials that maybe you wouldn't have had to in the past?
Of course. Yeah. We're having to get more creative, but it's at the end of the day, I don't think we've really ran into situations where like, we don't find a great solution. We just have to spend a little bit more time and get a little more creative. And it sometimes works out for the better.
Yeah, I think when you approach a construction job of any kind, I think you have to go in with the mindset that everything happens for a reason, especially during these times right now, because as you mentioned, product is not, inventory's low, product is not as accessible. So I think Mike and I have both kind of looked at this where we've been hit with obstacles along the way where maybe a selection that we chose and we carefully chose is just not available in the time frame that we need it. So we have to pivot and go into a different direction. And we just tell the client, like, look, it just wasn't meant to be. Like, the universe is saying, let's go with a different, selection. And we've all been pretty good about it.
Yeah. Well, the first episode was awesome. I have a million ideas now from that for my own house. What can you guys tease about this season? The first episode was any clue, it's going to be really fun.
I think this is going to be a lot more dramatic. And when I say dramatic, I don't mean it by the standards of like reality TV dramatic. It's larger budgets. The clients are more daring. They're taking more chances. They watched season 1, so I think they have a little bit more trust and faith in Mike and I. And Mike and I have really pushed ourselves this season. We've really gone into another direction where we're testing ourselves as designers and pushing each other.
Yeah, just to touch on that, it's just I guess just bigger and better is just a good way to say it. It's just and you know, we're as a team, we have the same, you know, it's the same production company, it's the same team. We've gotten to know each other more, we're more comfortable in front of the cameras, you know. It's just we're growing together, and it's going to show in the season.
That's exciting. That is so cool. And before I let you go, Mike, I understand that you have a bit of an outdoor kitchen smackdown going on with Dolores from the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Is there anything you can tease about your kitchen? Because I did talk to Dolores.
Oh, did you? Yeah, we have a little challenge with RTA Outdoors, and she has a nice design. It's actually, I thought it was really great. I thought it was special and something that I haven't used before, so I might have to steal that from her. Don't tell her that. But you know, mine's simple and clean, along with, you know, a lot of my designs are just simple and functional and easy on the eye, and definitely a different look, a lot more modern of a look, but I'm up for the challenge.